Surrender or be destroyed. That's a message from the Sri Lankan government, which it sent to the liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam. For a quarter of a century, the country has been blighted by civil war. At the beginning of the year, the government gained the upper hand after the military drove the rebels out of the last town that they controlled. It seems that Asia's longest civil war will come to an end in the foreseeable future. But will the end of the war lead to the country's peaceful development?
Tigers are boxed in by advancing troops. On Monday, they called for a ceasefire but refused to give up arms. The Sri Lankan government said no.
LTT as an organization will renounce violence, surrender in terms of their cadres, and then they have to embrace democracy, and that's the process.
Chinese expert Lo Chun-hao explains why the government refuses to come to the negotiation table.
First of all, the LTTE hasn't declared it will disarm, which the Sri Lankan government won't accept. Second, the authorities have ruled out a ceasefire, given the LTTE's history of using them to rearm. Meanwhile, it's the first time the government has come this close to a complete victory. It doesn't even need talks with the LTTE.
On February the 4th, Sri Lanka celebrated its independence from colonial rule. And President Mahinda Rajapaksa savoured a more recent victory.
We have now been able, within a short span of 2.5 years, to almost completely defeat the cowardly forces of terror that had wrapped our entire nation in fear through several decades.
The Tigers are pioneers of suicide bombings. The organization has conducted an appalling record of such attacks. In 1991, the Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated by a female LTTE suicide bomber. In 1993, the President of Sri Lanka, Ranasinghe Premadasa, was killed in an LTTE suicide bomb attack. In 1999, an assassination attempt wounded Chandrika Kumaratunge, a former Prime Minister and later the first female President of Sri Lanka. And in 2005, Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Lakshman Kadirgama was assassinated by the LTTE. As early as 1998, the Sri Lankan government declared the group a terrorist organization. To date, 32 nations, including the US and the UK, have also labelled it a terrorist organization. Nature flourishes in the absence of human life. Vast swathes of territory have recently been wrested from the rebels by the military. On Tuesday, they battled in the last town under Tiger control. The government may finally have won, but ethnic conflict cannot be ended on the battlefield.
The civil war dragged Sri Lanka's development far behind. The fighting further estranged relations between different ethnic groups, which could hinder the country's future development.
As a first step in reconciliation, the government drew a blueprint for devolution in minority Tamil areas. Last May, residents in the war-ravaged East went to vote in provincial council elections. It was their first time in 2 decades. The elections aimed at entrenching a civilian administration in formerly the rebel-held territory.